Hello, and welcome to Theo's Coffee Break, the podcast where we talk about what's going on in our world while getting to know each other on a deeper, more personal level. I'm your host, Theo, and today's episode is incredibly special because we're talking about the power of words, witness, and rooms built for healing. My guest is Shayna Akanke Marie, a poet, art activist, creative entrepreneur, community historian, and accidental archivist of Grand Rapids Truth. She's the founder of Akanke's Room, a narrative strategist behind the Diatribe, and a quiet force shaping projects like A City Within a City, GRMiFi, and Reaching Beyond Bias. For years, Shayna has worked behind the scenes, blending art and activism, youth engagement, and coalition building, social innovation, and spoken word. And today, we're pulling her into the spotlight, not just to celebrate her work, but to sit with her wisdom. Shayna, welcome to the coffee table. I'm so glad that you're here.
Theo, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. Oh man, just listening to you describe me, I'm just like over here blushing and just like, what is that? That's who I am from the outside looking in.
It is. This is how I see you. And with what you provided and just getting to know you, it's like, wow, you do so much behind the scenes. Yeah,
I prefer it that way.
A lot of people do, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Shayna, for the people meeting you here at the coffee table for the very first time, when someone asks, what do you do? What do you say? Like, how do you describe what you do?
Well, I'm going to actually ask you to copy paste what you just read, because I feel like that was a good summary. I don't have a good 30-second pitch. I think it kind of depends on the context and how I'm feeling any given day, how I'll describe myself. But yeah, when people say, what do you do? I'm just like, too much.
Yeah.
Too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, primarily, I do see myself as a researcher, as a sharer of stories and information.
Yeah.
Certainly as an innovator. I've been working on my master's degree from Grand Valley.
Look at you. Okay. Master's degree.
So yeah, my research field is definitely social innovation. And I do a lot of just historical analysis, really bringing the past thoroughly into the now and helping people understand the context of who we are as a society. I'm really, really passionate also about like family storytelling. So yeah, I would tell people I'm a storyteller, I'm a writer for sure, first and foremost. Before I ever called myself a poet or knew that I was allowed to be a poet, I called myself a writer. So I think those are kind of like the big pieces of me: writing, storytelling, and just sharing what I've learned so that we can all learn and grow together.
As someone who has heard you your spoken word at open mics, I would genuinely say that a lot of your work, there is a nice blend of history into it. So it's creative and poetry, you're actually educating people and speaking about very important things that I don't think people really want to spend their time thinking about, but it's beautiful. You get drawn in. The minute you start speaking, I'm just like, I'm drawn in. I'm glued. I have to hear this.
Thanks. Yeah, I love to drop little subliminal nuggets in my pieces. I definitely have grown a lot in my faith and spirituality. And so a lot of those kind of subtle messages will come forth, because I'm not a fan of, indoctrinating people or acting like my beliefs are the beliefs, right?
Yeah.
But I have gained a lot of wisdom, and I do like to share that, especially with my younger audience. So I do try to be mindful of, the audience when I am writing, but I honestly like to write from a space of pretending nobody will ever hear it.
Yeah.
So every now and then I'll write something from that viewpoint, and then it's like, dang, I gotta share this with people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's like a balance, but that's why I do like to I have plenty of things that I've written that will never see the light of day until my descendants find them under my bed somewhere and just air me out.
Honestly, same. Honestly, same. So Shayna, you and I have shared space in many rooms over the years. But today, for nostalgia's sake, how do you remember the first time we met, and where was that again?
Man, it's been some years. I want to say this would have been in 2021, maybe 2020. I do remember you sharing some music at the Freed People's Teach-In.
Yes.
They had asked me to do a teach-in about West Michigan. Not so nice. That's been my research focus for the last 4 or 5 years now. So yeah, I was preparing for a teach-in. It was really examining the legacy of slavery and how that's applicable here in the city. And I remember you had on these like pants that were real colorful. Like I think it was like an ice cream cone kind of design on. You remember those?
Yes.
Yeah. So I remember just like it was kind of funny because in the back of my head, I'm not gonna lie, I mean, we're here, the Freed Peoples. I didn't know a ton about them. I knew about the mission and just the importance just in my research. So I was honored to like be in this space, but I'm looking around and I'm just like, okay, interesting crowd, right? And then here comes this colorful Asian American like pop sensation singer on stage. So it was definitely one of those moments that you just can't forget.
Yeah.
And I just remember feeling just warm, which was such a feeling I wasn't expecting being in that space because it was such a heavy topic.
Yeah.
It was my first time really bringing my research into like a public space in the city.
Yeah.
So I was like super nervous and just, you know, but just seeing you up there, seeing you shine. There's a couple of people that I also knew. So yeah, it was definitely an unexpected like warmth feeling from just listening to your music. And I feel like it did kind of reset the tone. So
that's so sweet. Oh, Shayna. Yeah, those pants, they were...
I remember the pants.
So it was...
Do you still have them?
I do. I'm going to keep them forever because about a week before, a month before, I remember I was on the runway. And so that was the final closing fit and they allowed me to keep me the pants. But what I do want to say is that your presentation was so educational and I walked away just being like, thank God someone is saying something that I don't even know how to put into words. And you did it from such a nice, professional, educational perspective to where I'm like, everybody needs to hear this.
Well, thanks for saying that.
You did your research and it showed.
I did a lot of research and lived experience because I do think as an academic, you know, that's a part of me that I don't necessarily flex super, super hard. Yeah. And it's because I do know there's a lot of like privilege when it comes to education and access to education and proximity to academic research and whatnot. So, you know, I definitely have that strong academic background, but I hate that is another system that like disqualifies people or discredits people. Because even with a degree, multiple degrees, that doesn't automatically mean more respect, more pay, more anything. Definitely debt. Definitely more debt. Yeah. But people's lived experiences and their truths, their family stories, like those are also credible sources of 100%. Truth and history and information. Yes. So I like to kind of balance that, you know, research, like academic standards with just being raw and real, because I don't need a research thesis to prove that West Michigan has some cultural problems, right? Yeah. Talk to anybody, you'll know.
Yeah. No, 100%. So as we are rewinding the tape, Shayna, when did you first realize poetry and storytelling were your language, and what pulled you into spoken word? Also, do you hear that beeping noise?
Yeah, somebody's doing something outside.
Let's leave it in. That'll keep the human aspect. We're live, people. We are live and alive.
Oh, so I knew from a pretty young age that I was going to be a storyteller. I remember in 5th grade, I wrote a really interesting, like, sci-fi type short story. And it was so layered. Like, I still remember vividly, like, writing it. And it was such an interesting perspective that in hindsight, I'm like, did somebody medium that story to me or something? I don't know. But my 5th grade teacher was so impressed, but also I remember experiencing for the first time somebody like, did you really write this? Like, yeah, I really did.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, I kind of had this sense from a young age that I had this gift of writing that other people would find a little peculiar. So I've always written. I feel like that was, it was a safe space for me for sure when my parents were going through typical, you know, suburban family drama conflict. And I just remember being able to go and sit in my room and write. And that was kind of my outlet. I got to put things on paper that I would never say out loud. I didn't really call myself a poet until honestly moving to Grand Rapids. So even though I had written poetry and I had shared some poetry in a couple of pockets, you know, as a young adult, it wasn't until, my mid-20s that I really embraced this idea of like, I am a poet, right? But I've always been a writer. It's always been my safe space. I remember the first time I shared a poem out loud in this city, I was so nervous, like paper shaker nervous, you know.
Where did you share that?
This was at the Drunken Retort back in 2019.
Okay.
Right before pandemic season came in. I was on a date. I won't get into all the details, but I was on a date and decided to be ballsy and share a poem and I do it anyway. And then once I started teaching, once I started working with young people, I think that's when I started to feel like the biggest shift, because I was constantly affirming to the young people that like, your story matters, your voice matters.
Yeah.
Here's how you can overcome anxiety. The more you do it, the easier it gets. And then like I started believing those things for myself too.
Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. By the way, do you still have that alien story, that sci-fi story?
It's somewhere. I think I had it and lost it. Like I had a physical copy of it that I had kept, and then I lost it, and then I recreated the theme for like a different assignment. Because I remember the story pretty vividly, but I couldn't remember all the details. So I do have like a replicated version of it. Honestly, my 5th grade version was probably better.
That's the version I want to hear, because I'm like, that's such a interesting, like, if a 5th grader came to me with a story like that, I'd be like, okay.
And for the record, it wasn't about aliens, even though I said sci-fi. It wasn't about aliens. It was a story about a girl who was in foster care who played a string instrument.
Oh my God.
And she ran away from her foster home and snuck into this abandoned auditorium. And she starts playing on stage. And then she's joined by this like mystery, like presence that ends up being her father. And then he leaves like the bow.
Wait, are you for real?
Yeah, this was my concept.
Because have you ever seen the Umbrella Academy?
I have seen the Umbrella Academy.
Yeah, there's a particular character who plays a string instrument.
You're talking about Vanya?
Yeah.
Is that her name, Vanya?
I think so.
Yeah.
And then, oh my God, that sounds very similar. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So, since you've built Akanke's Room, a creative sanctuary for truth-telling, can you share how that vision came to life and what that room represents to you specifically?
Ooh. I'm like, how deep do we want to go here?
Let's go as deep as you want to take this coffee break session.
So I called 2025 my catalyst year. I was a sophomore at Central Michigan University at the time. And I mean, I was...
Wait, really quick. You said 2025. Do you mean 2015?
Did I say 2025?
You did. Because I was like 2020.
Catalyst part 2 for sure.
For sure.
No, we're going back 10 years. We're going back to 2015.
Oh, okay.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
2015. I was a sophomore at Central. I had recently joined my sorority, Sigma Lambda Gamma National Sorority Incorporated. And I just was in this state of awakening, if you will, and really just channeling and trying to unpack who I was, healing from all the trauma. I started doing a lot more personal development. I had a group of friends that we would do these like mastermind sessions, and we were reading books like Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and just really in that space of finally understanding like how much power I truly had. I never understood that growing up. And so it was the start of a really, really wild 10 years. So just reflecting back now is just amazing. But that is the season that I was in when I had the idea for both Akanke's Room and Reaching Beyond Bias. So Reaching Beyond Bias was a platform that came from a community project that I was working on. I was a peer facilitator for a class about race, class, and gender. And this was like the first time that I had the framework of unconscious bias and what it is, and like how just in knowing and acknowledging the biases that we all have, how that can really leave room for healing and for people to choose not to consciously act on those biases. So I created this campaign on campus called Reach Beyond Bias. We did a video.
Oh my gosh.
And it was just a campaign of like, understand bias. Like you can take the Harvard Implicit Association test and, blah, blah, blah. So it was a really awesome project, but I knew that like there was something more with that. And so that ended up translating to, me really wanting to do more of that kind of consultant work, more of that community organizing around principles of, racial inequities, of social inequities, and ultimately probably why I ended up studying social innovation now. So I'm still kind of like holding on to that platform, but and it was able to evolve. So that started in 2015. I dropped out of school, moved to Nashville, worked in restaurants, and just like trying to soul surge with family. Ended up back in Michigan in 2019, still with that, dream and that vision on my heart, just not really sure what to do with it or how to bring it, to life. So, I ended up being able to create a podcast based on that, where we were talking about various diversity, social justice kind of dialogue topics. And, I still kind of operate it just as like as a business. If people, want me to come in and do even, consulting, workshops, media production, all of that, just coming from that, like really seeing through our biases lens. And then I actually ended up getting to pitch Reaching Beyond Bias in the Start Gardens 5x5 back in 2020. My goal was to win so I could buy some podcasting equipment and just start my podcast. I didn't win. But one of the judges, she really saw something in my pitch and in my principles, and she became a mentor of mine. And she opened up a door for me to work for a company that was like their bread and butter, the unconscious bias trainings and, cultural awareness and working effectively across cultures. So I did that for a couple of years, and it all emerged, from that center, project that came forth in 2015. So same time frame, I had written down Akanke's Room. That's going to be the platform. And so the name Akanke is from my sorority. It was my line name. So it's given to me by my Gamma mom. Shout out to my Gamma mom, Ashley. I haven't seen her in forever, but I'm gonna
shout out.
Hopefully this will be like a manifest moment where I get to go visit her. But that name was really significant to me for many reasons, but especially just the story of the person who gave it to me and the nature of our relationship. And she was actually not living on campus at the time. So our whole entire relationship was like long distance, and we would spend just hours on the phone talking and catching up. And then like, I didn't know she was going to end up being my Gamma mom. Like this was like all kind of while I was going through the process. Hold on. I got to pause because the process was...
That's okay.
Okay, but I made it. So I made it to Gamma Land successfully. And she presented me with the name, which means to know her is to love her.
Oh my gosh.
Seriously.
That's so cute.
Yeah, it is. And it definitely was character defining in a way that I don't think I've fully processed probably until now. Like just really sitting with that and what that name means to me and how it affects the way that I show up in the world, and then the way that I've had to also love myself, right? Nobody knows me better than me.
That's true.
So if I don't love myself, how can anybody that knows me love me? Like that was how I started to kind of reframe that. So the concept for Akanke's Room then I knew was like far-fetched. Like I knew it was going to be years and years before I could ever fully like bring this to fruition. I had no idea really what it was going to be other than the name, and it was going to be a sacred, intimate space, you know? So it is now my website. So I have akankesroom.com.
Congrats.
Yep, I had been sitting on the domain for some years until I finally decided to like put something out.
Yeah.
It's still a work in progress. I still have like a big picture vision of where I want to take that when I'm really able to carve out the dedicated time to keep building it. But it is going to be kind of like my online private, intimate space, and people will get a chance to hear, you know, stories like this, or to get some writing. I'm experimenting with film concepts and music and like all these different things, and I just want to put them in a place that like I really get to curate, and like I get to be the one to invite people to have access to those things.
Yeah.
So I will be kind of transitioning back from social media. I've been kind of like about social media for a while now.
Yeah.
But my goal is to really use that as a platform to really connect with people, and just for like a year, just kind of take a year of just like exploring this, traveling, connecting, and just like not really prioritizing the algorithms, you know? So,
well, the one thing that I heard as you were saying is like, this is what innovation in motion looks like. And I don't think people quite realize that innovation is actually very messy because it's a transformative process.
It's gross.
And we just get to see the product when it's all, you know, detailed and refined, but how to get there, it's a very messy, and you get judged a lot.
The whole
oh my gosh
way.
The peanut gallery will be talking about you the whole time, but that's what this looks like. And so I really love that there is a space in a room to represent that in a very authentic way. So Shayna, one thing I admire about your journey is how you bridge art and entrepreneurship. What's that balancing act really like behind the scenes, especially as a creative woman of color?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Now this might be the whole episode. Look. Because I mean, and so around that same time, 2015, that was like my era where I realized like I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I had initially started studying law and economics. That was my first major at Central Michigan University.
Okay.
And I realized how much I hated it.
Yeah.
Now, it was a weird program because it was housed in their College of Business. So I started by just taking all the like business, you know, prereqs. And then when I started to really unpack like the principles of economics, it just like rubbed me the wrong way. Because I'm like, we're talking about scarcity and I believe in abundance. And like, it was just so many things that like, I just knew in my spirit, like this wasn't it. So then, you know, I dropped out and all of that, ended up, you know, in the field that I'm in now, which is social innovation. And I think that my innovation style is very disruptive on purpose. So when I think of innovation in the traditional business sense, all the business classes that I had taken, you know, prior to my master's level, newer, shinier, better, faster, more efficient, like those types of like buzzwords, right?
Yeah.
But to me, like less is more.
Yeah.
And so like that has, I think, always kind of been my approach. Maybe it's because I'm a biracial person in a polarized world. So I've always kind of lived somewhere in between two perspectives, two worlds, you know, whatever. But
the bridge.
Yeah, the bridge. Exactly. Yeah. So that's always been my style, is just kind of seeing that nuance and looking for different approaches. It's almost like, well, if this is the way it's always been done, like I want to just do it something else just cause.
Right.
So same kind of concept applies when it comes to being, you know, a creative, artistic entrepreneur, because when you're thinking about art, there really truly is no one right way to do it.
Yes, exactly. No such thing as a mistake.
You know, and the nature of art is so individually spiritual, but also like very communal, you know? So I think for me as a creative woman of color, in especially an environment like this, I mean, it's a daily struggle to continue to not like allow other people to define me in any space, in any way other than what I've allowed them to, you know, like that's a really tough balance. I think from the entrepreneurial sense, you know, of course, like we got to make money. We got to pay our bills. We want to live well. We want to travel.
Amen to that.
You know, and frankly, a lot of women of color, especially Black women that are creatives that want to work outside of the system. I mean, that is not, it's not an easy ask from society and from ourselves, because I do feel like we have to sometimes work 10 times harder just for the baseline like level of respect or access or, you know, any of those things. And so, yeah, I think that the best part of the journey of being a creative entrepreneur for me, despite, you know, all of the struggles, all of the setbacks, barriers, pauses, right? Like I do still believe everything happens for a reason. Yeah. And being able to really understand my worth and my value and to like stand firm in that and stand confident in that, even if there's certain circumstances that aren't, you know, allowing me to thrive, even if, you know, people don't want to pay me a fair, you know, rate for any of my services. Like it's just part of that battle that you're going to have to face. Yes. And the way that you face that, the way that you respond it, like it does build character. It does help you to navigate it in a way that now like the next generation can, you know, anticipate. So now I work with, you know, younger women of color of all abilities, all races. And I get to show them the things that I didn't really learn until I was in my, you know, late 20s, coming into my 30s, as far as like, know your worth. Yes. I don't ask any of those young people to do anything for less than like $50 a poem. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
right.
So.
That what you just said, it was a really great example of duality and being able to, because I think the one thing that people kind of miss with the point of duality, it's not just, you know, understanding the black and white or the bittersweet. It's also standing behind yourself and standing on business and recognizing that, yeah, I could do that. It is within my wheelhouse, but I know my worth. And so I'm asking for more because I have put in years of experiences, blood, sweat, tears, the whole cliche to get to this point to be able to do this quickly. So I need to recognize my value, and this is no disrespect, but it's just asking you to please see what I am really bringing to the table.
Yeah, there's a difference between price, value, and worth. There's a big difference. And so even exploring the nuance in that, like there are certain spaces, like I'll do it for the cause and the culture. Yeah. There's some spaces you gonna get hit with a $2,000 plus invoice for this, you know, same thing that I would do for. So even just figuring out how to price stuff is a battle that like every entrepreneur is gonna face. Oh yeah. You know, and yeah, recognizing the difference between price, value, and worth is something that I had to really struggle through. Yeah. Yeah. And then cost. Actually, I'm going to go back to cost. Yeah, because that's an important thing.
I like this.
Because I was talking about this with someone the other day. Because, yeah, price, value, worth, and then cost. So you always want to price, you know, your services above cost. Yeah. But sometimes, again, especially as an artist, as a creator, as an organizer, as a historian, accidental, what is the cost? Yeah. It's not always tangible. It's not always a number. And I've learned that the power of no, the power of no really can help you protect your worth.
Yes.
And to safeguard your value. And just because something may come with a high price tag doesn't mean that the costing, I'm getting this such and such amount of money, right, for this project, for this cause, for this moment. And it's like, it doesn't cost me anything to just be there. Like, I'm going to go. But then you find yourself in spaces that are conflicting with your values. You find yourself in spaces that maybe there's people preying on your naivety, of your passion to jump in and be a creator and do the things, right?
Or kindness,
all of that thing. So, really thinking about whatever your creative vision is, whatever that platform is, the time that you're going to spend, what is the actual cost?
Right.
Not just, I had to buy this, equipment. I had to pay for this degree and da-da-da. Like a lot of the ways that we value and assess these concepts, there's no formula.
Yeah.
Right? There's no spreadsheet that's going to tell you whether or not you should pursue an opportunity or create with somebody else or do a collaboration.
Yeah.
Right? So just that would be my advice to anybody listening that is, thinking about taking their creativity and really making, an entrepreneurial platform out of it, wanting to monetize your gifts. Like the moment you decide to do that and you commit to it, like your world is going to shift. Yes. It's going to be good. It's going to be bad. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be happy. Like there's going to be so many things that come forth, but like face those things head on and like ask yourself those tough questions, and just know that if you're feeling any type of like unease about a space, about a decision, about a collaborator, about, whatever, like trust that. But also, like, if you choose to lean in despite that feeling, like, lean the fuck in then, Yeah. Because there's going to be a lesson in it. And you're not a victim of things just not going well. Like, even with all the negative, whatever experiences that I have, I don't consider myself a victim of those things. I don't think they oppressed me in any way. I think they liberated me. They created a sense of resilience in me that is now unmatched.
I love that. Liberated. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Can we come back real quick? I love that you call yourself an accidental historian. So, Shayna, could you tell us about your role in a city within a city and what it's meant to help tell the stories that often get left out? And really quick, I love what you just said as well. Because once you make that decision to choose yourself, it's going to put you into a shift that is aligned for you. And you're going to feel so much, maybe like you'll become an accidental historian and fall onto something that you were like, I didn't even know that this is something that I really like and it feels good. And I love this.
Yeah. And it does take a level of commitment. And that's why I say when you really make that decision, and that decision is firm, stand on it.
Stand on it.
Like seriously, like don't look back. You made the decision. The universe is folding accordingly. Don't go back and make the universe undo all the folding. Right. Go through the trenches. It's going to be tough, but like it's definitely worth it. And commitment is what transforms a promise into reality. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so going back, me stumbling across this project was one of probably the most interesting, like miraculous, at least professional academic journeys. So I decided to come back to school. When I moved back to Michigan, I ended up backtracking, but forward tracking into community college. So I was able to go there without having to pay crazy tuition and knocked out, some more prereqs for changed my major to human resources.
Okay.
Yes, because I realized, law, economics, any of that like nitty gritty office type stuff, I can't do that. At least human resources, I have a chance at influencing culture and, kind of pulling in some of the other like frameworks and whatnot that I've learned. So I went back to school and I was writing a research essay. And I decided that my topic was going to be called West Michigan Not So Nice. And the reason that was a topic that I chose to focus on is because I had heard that rhetoric of like, oh, West Michigan nice, West Michigan nice. It's like this special brand of niceness, I guess, that West Michigan owns. I don't know. Yeah. Let me figure it out, right?
Yeah.
So I start researching, and at this point in my life, I had learned more about things like sundown towns, redlining, like all of those things that really paint that picture of why we are still dealing with such racial disparities and racial tension, in the country. So I decided to really like dig deep into just this region, right? We talk a lot about the national frameworks, and those stories often center on like these major metro areas: Detroit, Chicago, Nashville, Atlanta, etc. So I found the book A City Within a City through this process of just researching West Michigan and trying to understand more about this specific place. And shortly after, like within a month or two of me picking up the book, I find out that there's a crew working on bringing this book to film.
Oh, wow.
I had no idea. So I found the book first. I had no idea who any of these people were. Just reading the book, I remember attending an online event. It was a Zoom call. This was during pandemic had set in. And it was the author of the book, Todd Robinson, another author named Randall Jelks, who had written a book that kind of predates the history brought forth in A City Within a City. And Dr. Jelks has written a bunch of other stuff too. He also has been a professor at Calvin, and he's just like a very respected, historical perspective, academic perspective, theological perspective. So it was really cool just like hearing from them. And then the producers of the film, Rodney Brown was on the call, Victor Williams was on the call, another man named T.A. Elamine was on the call, just an incredible source of wisdom and perspective. So I'm trying to think, am I missing anybody from the call? I think that was like the main people. And so it's just a panel discussion. I'm sitting here like in the chat asking questions, and like I shared it on Facebook, and then they decided they were going to do like a book giveaway, and they picked me as the recipient. Gosh. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I ended up getting a signed copy of both Robinson and Jelks' books. So Robinson's A City Within a City. Dr. Jelks was the author of African Americans in the Furniture City. So I remember just being so like drawn to this movement, drawn to this story, but I had never any inkling that I would be in a film or media space outside of like, I'll do a podcast or something one day. Right. So when I connected with Victor and Rodney specifically, I learned that they knew my grandfather from back in the day, Delton Hurd. Yeah. So my grandfather, Delton Hurd, he worked for the city for 30 years. He worked at the Paul I. Phillips facility, which is now the Boys and Girls Club, but it used to be under the Parks and Rec for the city. Okay. So, and he also was a basketball legend. A lot of people have told me stories about just his basketball skills and, him helping young people learn those skills as well, and just like character development. So he was kind of a mentor to these two. And so when they learned that was my gramps, like they were just like, what? Yeah. And they kind of immediately just like embraced me. I think the first thing that I helped them like produce was a 616 Day celebration that year. Yeah. So this is something that they had been doing. I know Vic and them worked really hard to get it to be like an actual like official like city holiday, and there was like this big celebration at Studio Park. So just like basic stuff like, oh, I'll make a Facebook event for you guys, like just volunteering. So I'm just like, I just want to see what this world is all about.
And it's just crazy on how like those moments, you weren't looking for it, they just like kind of fell into your lap, and then it's like, then what came up, wow, I don't even know, I'm speechless. That's crazy. I realized crazy cool, by the way, as
this was unfolding, that it was definitely like the spirit of my grandfather. Straight up. Because I do participate in some ancestral communion activities. And it's wild because this Delton Hurd is not my biological grandfather. He's actually my mom's ex-husband's father. Okay. So growing up, like they were married for 14 years from the time I was a baby. Yeah. So he's who I knew my whole life as grandfather. I didn't know any of my other grandfathers at that time. Yeah. So definitely still remember like his presence and his character. And like, you know, when he passed away, it shattered my family. And it was something that we actually didn't really talk about a lot.
Yeah.
So I started learning things about my grandfather that I never was told, you know, growing up, because I think it was just too hard for my dad to really talk about.
Yeah.
And then, you know, our family went different ways, and it's just like, it is what it is. A lot of people like lose their family histories that way.
Yeah.
Because instead of asking the questions or healing, like maybe you don't even want to talk to the person who knows the information.
Right.
You know, so it is, it just became more of like a very personal,
beautiful,
spiritual for me.
Beautiful. That's such a beautiful like way to remember him. So thank you so much for sharing that, because wow, I just learned something new about you today. That's really, really cool.
Well, and I'll do a shameless plug. So there is a full article that I wrote about the first documentary shoot, the first production we did.
Yeah.
And I won't spoil too many of the details, but I wrote a reflection of it and how that first shoot was connected to my grandfather based on where we were shooting. And I got to come face to face with a plaque that was put up in his honor.
Oh my god!
That I hadn't seen since I was like probably a third grader.
Oh my gosh, Shayna.
So it's on akankesroom.com. If you click on the walls section, you'll see some writing, and there's one called A Full Circle Moment with Grandpa D.
Oh my god, that's so beautiful. Yes. I just have a couple more questions for you. When you look back at everything, the rooms you've built, the poems, the protests, the collaborations, what's one moment that reminds you, I'm right where I'm supposed to be?
Man. I really, not to be cliche, but I've really been in that knowing pretty consistently, like this year. I feel like this has been another catalyst year. Maybe this is a pattern. Maybe it's a new decade. I just turned 30 this year too, so I think there is some significance to that. You know, we out here getting gray hairs.
Amen. Welcome to the 30 Club.
Okay, yeah, something changed. It was like a light bulb, just like a snap.
Oh my gosh, sorry.
You're good. Yeah, so just I know that every moment is proof of you being exactly where you're supposed to be, right? Even the ugly moments. I think more recently, I'm reflecting on the summer program that I helped with. LOL. This is like my humble brain. Like, I helped with the summer program. No, I really did top to bottom a really amazing job with our summer program.
You did an amazing job, and you worked very hard, and it shows. And so I just want to say congratulations.
Thank you. Yes. And that week was a really big lift for me in many ways. And it was a big test of my patience and kindness and strength and determination and like all these things, but being able to like truly find joy in just watching these young people bloom in just a matter of days, just from the various activities. And I actually brought in, I think I did a count the other day, it was like 14 other adults that contributed to that program directly in some way, shape, or form, and like not even, you know, as full-time or part-time staff. So it was just like a beautiful thing to kind of reflect on. You know, we're not doing this work in silos. We're not doing this work on some island. You know, if I didn't have 14 other adults that I could tap on that were trustworthy enough to bring into this space, those kids would have not come close to having the type of experience that they were able to have, you know?
Yeah.
So it really, truly does take a village when it comes to this next generation. I don't have no kids. I ain't nobody's mama, okay?
Yeah.
But I think our generation, especially being those, you know, younger adults, we got to reach down and usher in a generation of conscious people.
Amen.
Conscious,
absolutely.
Caring people. We're the ones that are setting that tone. We're the role models, regardless of who their parents are. It only takes one role model, one mentor to change somebody's whole entire trajectory. I'm a testimony of that, right?
Yes.
I didn't win the Reaching Beyond Bias, Start Garden pitch, but that one woman picked me and opened up a door for me that I didn't even know was there. Yeah. Same thing with the film. Well, here I am writing, researching, and I have somebody who happens to welcome me to a table where now we can sit and have this conversation based on that moment 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
Which I still cannot believe. I feel like it was just like months ago.
Yeah, and you've been doing your thing, and it's and this is another testimony to, nobody succeeds alone, and you being able to do this, it's now re-inspiring me to go back and create other things that I just haven't really dreamed of.
By the way, I just want to say Theo's Coffee Break podcast is possible because Shayna planted the seed and encouraged me to do this. So Shayna, really, you're part of making this table happen. You just gave me an inch and I took it the mile, but because you saw something, you know what I mean? That I will thank you. And I do want to say there's a song that comes to mind. It's called Change a Heart, Change the World by Jump 5. Okay. And it really is about that if you can just change one person's heart, you could change the possibility of a million tomorrows.
Yeah. And it's because somebody saw something in me that allowed me to see something in you.
Yes.
We're sitting in a studio space right here on Wealthy. Shout out to GRMiFi, Grand Rapids Media Initiative and Film Incubator. And Rodney and Vic and Jasmine and all the people that have contributed to making this space what it is, so that more and more people can come and share these stories and have access to what they need to bring their stories to life. It's so much easier than our brains tell us.
Yes.
I've told people too that even with publishing, I self-published my first book. The story my brain was telling me about why I couldn't or shouldn't, completely false. And then when I actually got into the trenches and realized how simple it really was, I was so pissed off. I'm like, why did I spend the last few years thinking this was not doable? Anything you want to do is doable. And then more recently, I decided to explore more music stuff. I've been musically inclined since I was very young, but didn't always get an opportunity to keep that centered in my world. So I had a lot of anxieties and reservations about doing anything musically related. And you're somebody that inspired me and other people. I'm looking around. I'm listen, there are, and this one I want to say here does not apply to you, but generally for anybody, anything you want to do. That you're telling yourself oh, I don't know if I can do that. It seems too hard or too complex. There is somebody with a lot less intelligence, a lot less talent, and a lot less of a real purpose and message doing what you're telling yourself you can't do or you don't know how to do.
Preach.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I love that. So before I let you go, for people who want to support you, connect with you, or bring your work into their communities, Shayna, what's the best way for people to get in contact with you?
I would say know somebody who knows me. That's always the best way. Personally, I have been a little bit more discerning and hesitant to just jump into any space just because of what we, talked about earlier about values and about alignment and making sure that the cost for me isn't greater than what I'm offering and extending. So I think the way that I approach collaborating now or showing up in certain spaces is definitely it's more relational than it is business, right? So I'm not in a space where I'm oh, I need to get booked or oh, I want to get in, I need a stage. I've gotten so, I've gotten a lot of clarity in who I'm supposed to be and where I'm being pulled to. And of course, I welcome opportunities to connect and share and I like to make money, but that's just not the most important thing to me right now. So it's always going to be a strong why. I want to know who is this that's asking me to do this? What is the context? What is the value for me? Not just the monetary value, but the value in really being here. And I don't enjoy going to spaces where I feel I'm just the tap dancer, the entertainer, right? I don't even say performing anymore. I try to reframe performing and say, I'm sharing stories. I'm a storyteller, right? And this came from just, again, working in the classroom where I'm telling young people, like, forget everything you've ever learned about poetry. Like, we're going to start over. Like, everyone's a poet. They just don't know it. I started saying these things and it's like, oh, wait, these are all truths. So the best way, long story short, feel free to check out my website. It's www.akankesroom.com. That's AKANKES room.com. There is an email list that I'm building out. I'll be having that along with like direct text message campaigns. Right now, my social media is active. So if you're on Instagram, I have an Instagram page at Akanke's Room. Still on Facebook, but I will be taking those pages. I'll be archiving the pages. I'm not going to delete them. They're just going to be inactive for a while. So I'm just kind of letting people know, like,
coming from the archivist.
Yeah. If you have my email or my phone number, like, use it. If you want my email, it's on my website. If you know somebody that knows me, they should have my email or phone number if they actually know me. So
there you go.
That's the best way.
There you go. All right. Shayna, thank you so much for being here, for your voice, your vision, and your vulnerability. You carry so much with grace, and you've built something beautiful in the city that will outlast all of us. And to everyone listening, thank you for pulling up a chair to join our coffee break session today. I hope this conversation reminded you of the power of words, of truth-telling, and of building rooms where all of you is welcome. So hey, thanks for listening and being here until the end. Again, thank you, Shayna, for joining today's coffee break.
Thank you.
Yes. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, follow, and turn on those notifications so you don't miss out on the next one. And if you want to share your thoughts, you can always send an email to theoscoffeebreakpodcast@gmail.com or reach out to me on Instagram at Theo's Coffee Break Podcast. I might just read your message in a future episode. So until next time, take care of yourselves and each other, and know that the coffee is always warm, my door is always open, and your words, they will always matter here at our coffee table.